I want to bring Brendan Devenney back up on stage, and also you might give a warm round of applause to Oisin Kiernan, Cavan footballer and also Super Value ambassador, because we're going to look ahead to the Super 8s. Thanks for joining us, Oisin, especially so soon after the disappointment of the weekend, the defeat against Tyrone.
Yeah,
tough to take.
Thanks very much for having me. Yeah, probably a disappointment, but looking back on the year, there is positives there. It's not too easy to see them now, but we'll come together at the end of the year and we'll look back on it, and getting to an Ulster final, I suppose, it is a positive, but the last two games we probably didn't do ourselves justice, so we'll have to learn from that.
The pop psychology around it is probably that you invested so much in the Ulster final. There's so much weight attached to an Ulster final in Cavan. It's been so long that you put absolutely everything into it, and you simply just couldn't get yourselves back up for the Tyrone game.
Yeah, well, they say you get a hangover from the province final, but it didn't seem like that. But maybe it was there. We don't know. It's hard to put a finger on it, but it didn't seem like that coming up to the Tyrone game, but it just didn't happen on the day.
Yeah. The Ulster final, though. I want to bring Brendan Devenney back up on stage, and also you might give a warm round of applause to Oisin Kiernan, Cavan footballer and also Super Value ambassador, because we're going to look ahead to the Super 8s. Thanks for joining us, Oisin, especially so soon after the disappointment of the weekend, the defeat against Tyrone.
Yeah,
tough to take.
Thanks very much for having me. Yeah, probably a disappointment, but looking back on the year, there is positives there. It's not too easy to see them now, but we'll come together at the end of the year and we'll look back on it, and getting to an Ulster final, I suppose, it is a positive, but the last two games we probably didn't do ourselves justice, so we'll have to learn from that.
The pop psychology around it is probably that you invested so much in the Ulster final. There's so much weight attached to an Ulster final in Cavan. It's been so long that you put absolutely everything into it, and you simply just couldn't get yourselves back up for the Tyrone game.
Yeah, well, they say you get a hangover from the province final, but it didn't seem like that. But maybe it was there. We don't know. It's hard to put a finger on it, but it didn't seem like that coming up to the Tyrone game, but it just didn't happen on the day.
Yeah. The Ulster final, though, and the sort of magic of the Ulster final from a Cavan point of view, must have been a very enjoyable couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was brilliant. The buzz about it, it's unbelievable. And those are the days that you train for, that's where you want to be. So we'll obviously be going next year, obviously, to get back there, but it was great buzz about the county, all right, yeah.
Yeah. It gives you time now to draw breath, I guess, at the end of the season after a pretty crazy 10-12 months. You might talk to us and tell everyone here about your story. You were diagnosed with testicular cancer, was it 10 months ago?
Yeah, the end of last August, we were playing with Castrahan in the Cavan Championship, and middle of the championship everything seemed fine. We were playing away. I felt probably I described it as a divot or a slight lump. I left it alone because I wanted to keep playing, and we were going well at the time. Coming up to, I left about 5-6 weeks, so I just said I'd mention to my father. I didn't think much of it. I was doing a bit of Googling, which is probably not the right thing to do. But I went over to the GP then in Cool, and I knew by his reaction that something probably wasn't right. He sent me for a scan the next morning, and I remember training actually that night, and I was kind of testing myself to see, and I felt 100%. I was thinking there can't be anything wrong with me. So yeah, then when I got the scan, and that morning I went back to work, and the GP had rang me then just as I arrived, saying to call back over to him. So he diagnosed me that morning with testicular cancer. From there, my father had it twice, so him and my brother went over that morning. So it was calm enough. We get the operation and try and get back playing. We were playing the quarter-final that Saturday. Obviously wasn't allowed to play, which I wanted to play, but because I felt that good. But yeah, that's where it all started, really.
Yeah. You when you got the diagnosis, you were calm enough for you? Was that external, like internally, how were you feeling?
I was calm enough about it, really. It was just something that had to be done. Just go get the operation. I'll be back in 4 or 5 weeks. I rang Donald Keoghan, then manager, and told him the story, and he we were training up towards Dublin that night, just to accommodate Dublin lads. But he said, we'll talk to the lads tonight and I'll tell them. So probably that night when he told the lads before we went out to train, that's what probably hit me then. I seen all their faces, the shock on their face, and I was kind of thinking maybe this is a bit more than I initially thought. But it turned out it wasn't really. Obviously then we got to the county final. I was back training the Friday night before, but the doctor said no, that it probably hadn't healed right. So county final then went well. We won it obviously. Then the next morning I was back up in Dublin for results of a scan that I had after the operation, and he said then I'd have to go for 4 rounds of chemo that had spread up into my stomach. So that was the next thing then. Obviously back to Ballyduff and celebrate with the lads, and for a couple of days obviously, but that was coming. But I played the first round of Ulster then against Coolrain, so I was happy to get back playing that, and I had 4 rounds of chemo to come then.
You're obviously an incredibly mentally strong person, that when you're receiving this news, it doesn't sound as though it's set you back massively, that actually you're just keen to go back, get out with your mates, still be a part of the group.
Yeah, they did help massively. Just being around them and with them, it's like a big family, as the lads were saying earlier. So I was straight back to them really, and it just took it day by day. I wasn't sure what was coming ahead, but it was just whatever had to be done, had to be done. So went through the chemo then through the months of up until February, and Mickey had rang and said to come and go or come into the lads and just keep in contact and do what
Mickey
you
Graham,
can.
the Cavan manager.
Yeah, sorry. Just keep in contact and come and go do what you can. So the doctor said to train away and push the body. He said years ago we would have advised not to do that, but the way it's gone now, to train away. So that's what I done. And
this is while you're undergoing chemo?
Yeah, I had taken off work then, obviously, because I work on a pig farm, so it wasn't ideal to do that. So all I did then was train and go on hikes and different things. I remember going up to Holt one day, and we were walking up and I was with my girlfriend, and obviously at this time I was probably bloated, looked very pale and had no hair, and I was kind of down to my hunkers after walking a couple of K, and she turned around and says, "What's wrong with you? Will you come on?" So that was the kind of there was no sympathy, but I didn't want the sympathy. I wanted it. That's the way I wanted it, and that's the way it was.
She's still your girlfriend?
Yeah. She sure is.
Sorry, and this is 4 or 5 months ago, and you've gone on to play every championship game for Cavan this summer.
Yes, then. It's the February. I was the last round of chemo, and then I got a scan, obviously, and March I got the all clear. But I was just training away and waiting for the chemo, obviously, to go out of my system so I could get back and get the fitness back. So then I got on against Dublin in the last league game, which was a good preparation just for Monaghan. So it just lucky enough I got back in the squad and back in playing. So got on and started against Monaghan then. So
your first game back's against Dublin?
Yeah,
off the bench
to come on against Dublin. Yeah, yeah. When you
how were you feeling? Like, were you feeling I'm where I was before the diagnosis?
Fairly close. My hair was starting to grow back. Looking back, it probably wasn't fully 100%, but I wasn't far off. And the fitness really, once the chemo started to go out of your body, the fitness really started to come back. Every training session I felt I was improving, so it came back quick enough. Lucky enough. So come Monaghan, then I was 100% again.
Remind the lads here what happened in that game.
Sorry.
It's a few tears, I think, off the front row now. And were there must have been moments, I guess, when you're going through this where you are like, never mind worrying about inter-county, you've got far greater concerns. Or did you just get yourself into such a mindset that you wouldn't even think about things?
I think I was just in that mindset, and I was just kind of in the zone and just focusing on getting back, and I was with the lads all the time, and I think that helped massively too, that I didn't really think about anything else. I was training away and I was happy to do that, and so it was just to focus on the football and getting back, which was a massive help.
Yeah, it's remarkable, like 10 months for all that to happen.
Yeah, at the time I was just going through it. I didn't even know it was 10 months. So with us finished now, it's probably, I look back on it now, but I'll take a few days off and go back into the club season.
Yeah. Does it put everything into context? Like when you lose an Ulster final, does it put everything into context, or is the hurt as much as it would be?
No, the hurt is definitely there. Probably because we didn't do ourselves justice. That's what probably more so too. We felt we didn't in the last 2 games, but look, these are top teams, and you learn from playing them. So that's what we'll have to do now.
Yeah. How top a team are Donegal right now, do you think?
They're a very good side. Obviously, playing both teams. I know they played in Breffni. I'm not sure if Tyrone are that far behind them, because Donegal looked completely on top that day. But I think Tyrone have a bit of momentum now coming in. So obviously Dublin are up there at the top, and then there's Mayo, Kerry, Donegal, and Tyrone, which are very close after that. So it'll be an interesting Super 8.
Yeah, I think everyone's incredibly excited about the Super 8s this year, particularly that group that Donegal are in, alongside Mayo, Kerry, Meath. Like everyone, I think, Kevin, feels it's going to be 2 from 3, and that Meath are seen as all-rounds. Is that how you look at it?
I think so. I don't think that's any disrespect to Meath. I just don't think they're at the level that the other 3 are at. Looking at ourselves, first of all, we have to beat Meath this weekend. You're looking at going to Kerry then, in Croke Park. If the result's not positive, you're then looking to go to Castlebar and need a 1. So it's tough. We were chatting earlier on, I do expect all 3 teams to lose. So it could be down to scoring averages and that sort of stuff, you know.
What's changed with Donegal this year? Is it the Stephen Rochford factor?
I think Rochford has a big say, you know. They're not saying much, but anything I do chat them, they speak of Rochford in, you know, very high regard. I think, you know, between, and it shows you the influence Michael has on, you know, Donegal J. Between Michael and Boner, they would have sat down himself. Carol Lacey's involved there, and yeah, we need to find a way to get pressing higher up the field.
How do you go about doing that?
You know, Donny Buckley. I think they were interested in Donny Buckley at the start. Buckley had probably nailed his colours what Kerry, once the Kerry job was available, and he done the coach there. Next in line was Rochford, because Mayo are probably the best at that high press. You know, just putting the pressure on. Still can't understand how Kevin McLaughlin just does not get booked. Killeen O'Connor doesn't get booked.
Cut all this bit out.
But
how dare you?
Sorry. The way it is, it's such a transition for Donegal. They were just sitting back, and you see it in club football. You ask, when you do any coaching nowadays, you ask boys, you know, to even take part in that simple art of tackling. You know, you've seen the Galway thing. I think we've lost a bit of that tackling, and it takes coaches, defensive coaches, the likes of Lacey, Rochford's the general coach, the likes of Rochford, to coach that back into the game. Know when, if you watch Carr's goal the last day, their positional sense was terrible. You know, Brannigan came in half-hard to tackle. He just let him pass, and I'm not taking away the goal. The actual execution of the goal was brilliant, but the mechanics and, you know, the spatial awareness of all the defenders was just terrible. And that's where you need to start. Where you just start to teach players how to become good defenders, get them to press out the field. And is
there a difference between being a good defender and being a good tackler? Because everyone seems to feel that the tackle is so poorly defined. It's even Carl Lacey, I think, was on the show recently talking about trying to coach tackling. He said, you know, struggling to understand what exactly is a good tackle in Gaelic football right now.
For every referee has a different interpretation of that tackle, and it's very hard to, you know, nail down. You know, if you lined up 5 referees there, they would explain the tackle differently. But the basics of it, there's stuff you can work on the stance, you can work, and no, it's not just defenders that'll have good tackling. Forwards can also have good tackling, and just work on the mechanics, dogging it out. And I find, I don't know, Devenney agree with me, but forwards are just a lazy, selfish breed. Especially corner forwards. And, you know,
I'm not sure if he's best placed to definitely
work. I see that you know, you're trying defense all about hard work, you know, grafting it out, just breaking your man down, and that's the first part of it. It's basically a duel between you and the man you're doing the tackle on, and the first sign of hard work, the corner forward's going to give up. And say,
My God, Jim McGuinness brainwashed this boy. Who wins the matches anyway? No, listen, you're on about Rochford there. I think it's probably taken away from Boner, and Paul McGonagall's in the background there as well, and Lacey. Rochford came with a fresh style this year, and he's upstairs watching games. He stays up where we are on the radio, helping out, but he's a great voice in the background. But he came with a clean slate. Most people know Donegal, know the players, and probably have their minds made up about them. He came on very fresh, and he told the boys that at the start of the year. But if you look at where we're at in Donegal, how are we going to get an All-Ireland, someone who's All-Ireland experience to come in and coach us? We're not going to take it from Tyrone because they don't want to come in here, and we don't want them anyway. We're not, like you have Dublin, it's too far, Kerry's too far. Who else is there really? At this point, you had to take someone from Mayo, and we're lucky Rochford came up. I think the big jump in Donegal this year is...
Did you just say All-Ireland, winning experience from Mayo?
All-Ireland finalists. Sorry, Nathan, this thing's going to come all night. The big jump in Donegal this year is Patton, right? We have a few players that have jumped from... Last year, Patton was a good keeper, had decent kickouts. He has gone right up there at the top. McMenamin, who you have made doubts about as a county player, has been an unreal season. McGee's come back in the midfield. McFadden's playing unbelievable stuff at midfield. Again, a guy, time and time again, I was watching, I wasn't sure if he was a proper county player. He's unbelievable. Jimmy Brennan has completely stepped up, and those players, as I say, with McGee coming back now, and we already had the basis of a good team. I don't know what the difference is with them guys, but Donegal just look right on the money. I think defensively, down the middle of our defence, we still have a few issues, but going forward, we're good, and that's why probably the Kerry game's going to be a great test for us, because their strength is in their forward line too. If we can handle that at all, you never know. But I think we still have to be tested out. But I agree with Oisin, Tyrone are coming down the tracks again. That's going to be a very different proposition should we meet them.
Michael Murphy's influence there, you talk about he sits down with Declan Boner. Is his influence on this squad that strong that he would sit down with the management and...
He's not going to dictate to the management.
Not dictate, but help them plot out the season?
You know, if he sees things that's not happy, and he's been about, he's worked with Letterkenny IT, he enjoys coaching, and if he sees something, he's going to bring it up, and he's going to drive it. His influence on the squad, how he chats to people, you know, the vision he has for Donegal, you know, that's what he wants. He wants to see Donegal lift another Sam Maguire.
Was that always there? Because obviously Jim McGuinness gave him the captaincy at 21? Was anybody in Donegal surprised when he did that?
Nobody at all. I think Jim seen that from fairly early on, and it was just as soon as he got into the job, Murphy was captain, because there was, you know, Cass was a big personality there. You had Neil Gallagher, a lot of the lads, Cavan, and Jim just says, no, Murphy. And so he's obviously recognised it earlier on, and what we all thought was he just loved Jay, you know, this leader he turned out to be, and this driving force. You could see wee bits of it, but it wasn't out there all the time, and Jim just brought it all forth, brought it to the surface, and he just drives the whole thing. And
is he very vocal in the dressing room?
Yeah, he vocal, he talks to the lads, he's chatting all the time, you know. There's even times where I say just take the captaincy off him, that he doesn't have to talk, but he just talk anyway, and you just leave him at it. And the thing he says, he always talks about the love for Donegal, and doing it for, he's so much respect, and he's so loved, you know. I think that you don't say a bad word about it. If you're coming to Donegal now, do not say a bad word about Murphy, because you just don't go there. He respects the supporters, and he respects Donegal J, and they just love him back.
Yeah, we had a dodgy couple of performances at the start of the league, and we're playing Armagh, and we're dodgy again. And Murphy comes on the pitch, and I remember, I've never actually seen this before, but the whole attitude of our team changed. You know, we have a lot of good young players, but you need a core of experience right through the team, just like Gaoth have for the boys here. You need that, and then everything can work around that. And without Michael there in particular, and more of the boys come back after it, but he came on the pitch, you could feel everything change, and he had the ball in the net within a couple of minutes. And I just, like, the change in us, you know, like, we were lucky to get out of Division 2 this year because we were so bad at the start, and now we're suddenly being put second fiddle to Dublin. But a lot of that comes to Michael. You couldn't speak highly of him. For me, I mean, we had this discussion with London there last weekend for a Donegal fundraiser / 2-day pass-up. Thanks, Trassa, for nursing me back to health. It's a few tight nights, but all for the county, you know. But, we had this discussion.
Take one for the team, good man.
The best ever, you know, like Tony Boyle and Anthony Malloy and all of us. I'm sure nobody can even come in the same breath as Michael. You know, not only the player he was, but what he's done now.
And it's something, you know, like Sashin over there, it's probably one of the first bits of analysis that they'll sit down and, you know, we stop Murphy, we make him struggle. The boys see Murphy struggle, then, you know, it's going to have that ripple effect. And you know,
who's been good at that? Who's made him struggle?
I think one that's cast up to him all the time is Aidan O'Mahony. You know, 2014 final. People forget the amount of times that Michael's done it and pulled us out of the fire, and it's just, you just can't be good all the time. Justin McMahon used to have plenty of battles. I think Hamsey's taken on that role now with Tyrone. But probably the one that's going to be held over him until he goes on and wins that next All-Ireland is the Aidan O'Mahony one.
Oisin, when you're playing against him, does he have that aura for the opposition?
Yeah, he's obviously a massive leader. And they have a good mix now too, as Brendan said, with the young lads coming through. But he is a massive leader for them, and he will play a massive part, obviously, in Super 8. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, like we didn't even touch on Paddy McBrearty looking like he's back to pretty much at his best. You got Ryan McHugh. You've got, like, it's a pretty star-studded team, a huge amount of experience, a huge amount of energy, playing a very attractive style of football. There's a lot to like about this Donegal team.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're talking about Michael. He can probably do it all, but the thing he does most for Donegal is he's unselfish. So teams are focusing on Michael, and you have a Jamie Brennan exploding onto the scene, you have a Patrick McBrearty. So I think that's what makes Donegal so dangerous at the minute, because if you're any team in the country now, you're going to sit down, you're going to seriously analyse where Michael is, what he's going to do. It may take 2 men to shut him down. That means somebody else is going to... And in fairness, this year, the lads have stepped up massively. Jamie Brennan's taken on a lot of responsibility. Patrick's yet to catch fire. I know he's come back from injury, but now it's perfectly set up for him. So, listen, I think obviously the Dubs are up there, but I think after the Dubs, Donegal have to be close.
What happens as the summer goes on and Donegal end up facing Dublin at some stage, hopefully along the way? Do Donegal go 15 on 15? Have they got a game plan specially designed for Dublin?
I think, you know, you ask any manager that has aspects or aspirations of winning All Ireland, they have to have the basics of how to beat Dublin in the back of their mind. You know, we found out countless times that sitting back, Dublin just work it out. Dublin are the ultimate problem solvers in the county game. They just work it out. You present them with any type of defence, you know, mass defence, zonal defence, they're going to work it out. And what we've seen now is that there's chinks in the armour maybe in that full back line. You know, if we can press them out that wee bit higher, and, you know, the likes of McBrearty, the likes of Jamie Brennan are that wee bit fresher, and, you know, without expending their energy getting back, then we can possibly expose it. Do I think Donegal are at that level yet? No. And Declan and Murphy and the boys, Lacey will be the first to say that they're probably not comfortable of being talked as potential rivals for Donegal. So it's maybe another year, maybe 2, before Donegal are at the Dublin level.
So how do you see this group then playing out? Because Kevin, you were saying, like, it could end up in a situation where the 3 all beat each other and all 3 of them beat Meath, again, without being disrespectful to Meath. And I know I was told pretty much a Meath man.
No.
Denying it?
No, I played in Meath up until this is my 3rd season with Castlerahan, but my both parents and grandparents from Cavan and all the families from Cavan, but my father moved up to Ballymanus some years ago now, but that's how I played at St. Bridget's in Meath.
Are we underestimating Meath in this group of 4?
I think the other 3 teams are a step ahead. It'll be interesting to see, all right, but no, definitely the other 3 teams are ahead. It's just what 2 is going to come out is tricky enough. the game against Mayo and Kerry are playing this weekend. Probably home advantage will be big, I'd say. So this weekend will tell a lot.
Everybody obviously made a big deal after the Super 8s last year of the provincial champions getting their home game first. The way it's worked out with having Meath in Ballybuffet, then having to go to Croke Park to take on Kerry and then go to Castlebar for Mayo last time out, has it worked in Donegal's favour?
I think it has, yeah, definitely. I know there was a lot of noise made last year, and rightly so. If you won your province, you should be rewarded. Like, I think it's a fantastic... Listen, we're not going to disrespect Meath. No, we're not saying that, but it's a fantastic opportunity to get 2 points on the board, because, like you said, if the Meath game was the last game, you could be dead and buried before then. So definitely, it's a positive this year.
Yes, you looking at me?
You're just thinking you're going to enjoy yourself in Castlebar on the last game?
You wouldn't know what to expect from Mayo. I mean, my God, many times we write the boys off all the time, even this year. Struggling through qualifiers all over the place to get some injuries. Next thing, Killy O'Connor's back. Keegan will be back the next day, and you just think, you never know. Cohen's flying. You mean, Carr last day the goals, and then you're thinking maybe they'll be a complete handful in Castlebar. Their game with Kerry's is huge now this weekend. Either team's going to get a massive jump out of that there. I mean, Mayo's beat them twice already this year. I think Kerry now, if we look at Cork's performances, Cork are actually a better team than everybody gave them credit for, and everybody abused Kerry after that Munster final. That Cork's a serious handful of a team. So I think, you two boys inside, 2-4 and 1-8 the last day. I mean, they're coming with confidence. So, you got to think maybe Kerry are a bit of a better side than we've given them credit for, and that's why the game will tell us so much, us and them and Croker.
So might we learn something about Dublin then actually on Saturday against Cork when they have to go up against Brian Hurley and Mark Collins? If there are question marks of that Dublin full back line, can they do damage, or will Dublin just be so dominant further out the pitch that actually they just won't be able to get the ball?
I think we'll see glimpses of it again, as we've seen a lot of the times during the year. We'll see glimpses of it, but we just not for a sustained period, and that's what it has to be. When you're on top of Dublin, you've got to make it pay, and fortunately just Dublin are just that good bit ahead of Cork. I think for Cork, it's unfortunate this Dublin game comes up first, because they're coming off momentum. If they had faced any of the other two counties, they might have had a chance, but because they're coming off meeting Dublin, then I'd imagine there's going to be a heavy enough defeat. Any progress that's been made over this last few weeks might be cancelled out, and
their tactics will be fascinating. I think even if they do lose him, and as long as they don't lose too badly, they can take a lot from it, because so many teams are just terrible. Go up to Dublin, maybe not to get a hammering. But if they're tactically right, some way, if they get a rear guard, they've got plenty of pace up front. If they could stay in the game, I think that's massive for them. But their tactics are going to be key, whether that management can put those tactics in place, because if they go up there and play the football they're doing, they'll get taken apart. So that's the big thing. It's all about their tactics.
We're running out of time. How far are Donegal going to go in the championship?
I think there's a semi-final there. My worry is that teams like Tyrone and Mayo, I don't think they were at themselves all the way through their provincial. I think they had their eye on the Super 8s. My worry would be how good Tyrone will be if we have to face them in a semi-final. That's my worry.
And you mentioned in 07, peaking for the league and struggling to get back up is clearly hasn't been a problem for Donegal during the championship so far. Is there any possibility that they were trying to peak for the Ulster Championship?
I think, first of all, they needed to get up to Division 1 and play Division 1 football. They managed to do that with, operating at 60% at a push. And at times they were struggling until Michael Murphy came back. He transformed the team. But the championship's that's all they've been thinking about. And you chat about provincials, not too many might be seen as disrespectful, but the Dublins, the Kerrys, and Donegal, like Neil, McGee and Murphy and Frank, they don't give a shit about provincials. It's Super 8, so you're nearly breaking it into 3 seasons. You get your Division 1 if you get promoted. You maintain Division 1, or you go Dublin do, or whatever, won Division 1, Mayo won it, and you see how you take the provincials, and as long as you're in the Super 8s, that's all that matters. And Donegal are there. They'll be a hard team to beat, and I would be just saying the same as Kevin. I don't want to go to Mayo Mayo looked all but dead and buried. You know, they were like a boxer that was just, you know, in the Armagh game. Next another 5 minutes and they were in big bother. And all it took was that knockout punch. They'd lost Keegan, they'd lost O'Shea, and you were just saying, there's no way this Mayo team can come back. And now suddenly, everybody's talking that they're back, Killian O'Connor's back. They just look so exciting. And I watched the Mayo game again on Sunday morning, and I'll be very, very worried going to Castlebar looking for a result.
Yeah, listen, I think it was a brilliant time to be a Donegal supporter. You know, as much as we went defensive and caused a bit of a sea wave through the country in terms of tactics and games getting crap, let's be honest, now we're lighting it up. I think it's a brilliant time to be a Donegal fan. We're really smart in terms of how we play. I think as we approach teams now, you think back to 2016 quarter-final with Dublin, we were 4 points down under Rory Gallagher, we're sitting in their shell. Kieran Kilkenny's hand passing the ball over and back. I'm going off my nut up in the stand. Go, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now you know Donegal have a plan for that. And as a fan, all you can do is that there's a plan in place, and you know Donegal will give their best in the day, but they'll not be tactically out of the game. There's too many smart guys in the background. And what I'm mostly taking from tonight is from Unions, do not run on the Gaoth in the warm-up. That's all I'm taking. Don't do that again.
Oisin, you're the one neutral here. How far Donegal going to go?
It's definitely semi-final. I think they'll come out of that group. Obviously, these teams are going to be analysing Dublin and trying to find where their weaknesses are, which there's not too many weaknesses there, but they're going to. These teams are watching them all year, so it'll just be interesting to see what they can find, and they need to up their smarts game, and hopefully someone can slow them down to make it more interesting too.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
We'll soon find out.
We've been here all night with thanks to Super Valu, who are celebrating 10 years as sponsor of the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. Please give it up for all our guests this evening. Oisin Kiernan, Brendan Devenney, and your Gaoth legends, Eamon McGee and Kevin Cassidy. Thank you all very much for your very warm welcome. Thanks a lot for coming out. We'll talk to you all again soon. Good luck.